Don, what I know about you, and it's not very much at all, but I know you're an experienced herbalist and a teacher and a mentor. So um, I would love to know more about what you think is your unique contribution as an herbalist, and um, who also can benefit the most from what you are at this time in your life ready to offer to the world.
Well, I'm glad you phrased it with this time in your life, because this time in my life I am definitely an elder, and I've actually been honored as an herbal elder in Canada a couple of years ago. And I think that's one of the things that I can bring to the to the student is the long years of experience. And anybody that's been in a field for a long time knows that they know all the ins and outs of the field. So as far as the, the herbal part of it, that's what I can offer. But at the same time, I was trained shamanically by a native elder and many other people. I also did the flower essences since 35 years ago. I met people like Louise Hayes at a small workshop with like 10 of us in a room. I mean, it was back in the days when all these people were just starting out, and you could go and be with them. So I had the advantage of starting out in the early 70s and devoting my life to it. I've done this my whole life. I've raised 3 kids and supported myself doing natural healing. And so there's a lot of experience there. I think relationship is a big part. There's not a lot of relationship on the internet, and I feel like that's one of the things that I really offer students. And also, I'm really sincere about people completing their studies, whatever they are. And so that's why I've offered the mentorship idea, because then people can, also in this field, there's a lot of, people can spend a lot of money getting herbal education. I had somebody contact me who's spending $100,000 US and still hasn't done a consultation. Yeah, so, and I'm like way down on the other end of the scale, because I believe in practical experiential learning. So my goal is to get people sitting with someone right away. I mean, fairly right on. They do a basic course with me of 6 months, or 12 weeks actually, one live webinar a week, and I get to the basics in the different areas, the herbs, the Ayurveda, the dream body, the body. I use the extracellular matrix. But then I mentor them, and they're all supervised, sessions. But that's, to me, what the goal is to get them into the actual practice. And then also with the plants too. Like, I know, in our field, you and I both work with plants. So I just did the shamanic workshop, was tuning into plants. So it's a shamanic / herbal / dream body process-oriented psychology course training, and I think that's what I offered that's unique, an integrated system. I have a book that I published in 2000 called Pathways to Healing, a guide to herbs, Ayurveda, dream body, and shamanism. So I've been using herbs, Ayurveda, dream body, and shamanism well before that, because I had the material to write the book, and then I've been using the book for 17 years. So I think that's what I bring to the table.
That is great. I'm really inspired by this whole integrated system that you've developed. So tell me more about who can benefit the most from the kind of program that you're offering, or if you also have, if you also have different formats for different audiences.
Thanks. Yes. Well, right from book, a lot of people buy my book and carry it around, read it, and then get to know me. But also the book has, a lot of experiential exercises in it. So that's kind of a really easy place for people to start. I also offer paid webinars, so people can come and just have a couple-hour experience with me. Then if they want to go further, I offer face-to-face workshops on Pender Island, which is a gorgeous, beautiful place to come and spend some time. My wife and I really like that idea of going somewhere to, have a bit of a break and be in a beautiful place, but also learn something. So I think that's a really unique opportunity, is to come to a gorgeous place learn some really dynamic material, and at the same time enjoy a beautiful Gulf island. Then I offer an online course, which is 12 weeks. I did my master's thesis on transitioning my face-to-face classes to online. So I have a master's in environmental education and communication, but my whole thesis was teaching online. And I've learned a lot since I think I graduated in 2013, and I've had a chance to really apply that. And I feel really good about, I had 100% completion on one of my courses, which online is way off the top. I mean, a lot of courses have like 10, 20% maybe to complete. So I've learned how to really motivate and move people through and keep them engaged. And so that's something that I offer. And then after the online course, I offer mentorship. And mentorship is where you belong to a collective called the Herbal Mentorship Collective. And in the collective, you work with other herbalists and me through supervised study. And it, like I said, it involves studying plants and people and continuing to deepen your knowledge. And at the end goal, if people really want to get professional, I belong to an organization called the American Herbalist Guild. And people, if they really want to go the distance, can actually become a registered herbalist. But they can become a practicing herbalist anytime. Well, they're practicing herbalist right away. And even a professional herbalist, a professional is somebody who gets paid. So I really encourage my mentees to, when I feel they're ready, to start charging for their sessions, because I think we have a lot to offer. And so that's what the different offerings that I present right now.
And before I ask another question that I'm really interested in your answer to it, but wait, I would love to know, what is your typical student, or if there is kind of a range? Tell me more about your, the ones who can benefit the most, the ones who are more, that usually get to resonate and have more affinity to what you offer.
Well, for the most part, female or sensitive male. So, and it's been that way my whole life. It's been 80 to 90% female and 10, 20% male. So in other words, a group of class of 10, there might be one or two males. Class of 20, there might be one or two males. What I'm finding in the work that I'm doing now is it's a lot of women, like powerful women who want to do something with their lives now. So they're in the ranges from like late 20s into mid 30s, early 40s, because they either had, like, this can be for a beginner, somebody that really has had an interest in herbs but never has had the opportunity, to somebody who's been already studying it and wants to go, deeper, more sincere with it. But it's that kind of, I want to sink my teeth into something. I really want to learn something, and I want to learn nature. And why people come to me, they have a spiritual approach to their life and to their learning. And so they see that, like, I was just talking to one student who's been with me for 25 years. She was at the workshop, and she said, well, I really wanted to study with Rolling Thunder, and I really wanted to meet John Christopher, and I really wanted to meet Dorothy McLean. Oh, and I looked at Don's bio, and he'd been with all these people. So I also bring some of those. I mean, I believe in oral traditions, and so I believe that that's our goal as elders. And I really deeply believe as an elder of passing on this knowledge. And not only that, but firing people up to be political and radical, because, we changed as much as we could, but I keep telling them, look, I have one woman who's going to do her PhD in psychology, and she really wants to include this work. And I said, well, just include it, be creative, find a way. The world is opening up. Don't hide, just, keep hammering away. The only way you'll change consensual reality is by having a different consensus. And I believe in a consensus where the world is sentient, not where it's dead matter. And I study systems theory. I just studied with Fritjof Capra. I mean, he's wrote the system view of life, the Tao of physics. Not only that, he agreed to help me with a book. So, I mean, I really believe in change, that the world desperately needs. I was just thinking before we did this, is one workshop I want to offer soon, is the power of metaphor, and how people aren't even aware of the metaphors they're living by. So that's a module that I offer in my online course, as I do learning how to learn. But anyways, with metaphors, I really believe there's a lot of things, and paradigms. People are just not even aware that they're in a paradigm. They just think that's the way life is. it's just a consensual agreement. You know? And a lot of us don't agree with it anymore. So
Yes. Um, and you kind of began to answer my other question, but I think I'm still going to ask it because I would love to see what else you would like to say about it. So, how do you see the importance of people connecting to plants and plant medicine at this time? I know it's been with us forever, and it never should have not been. It never should. We should never, in my perspective, um, become distant from that. But at this time, how do you see the healing role of this in the world?
that's a pretty easy one to answer because I just did a workshop with people tuning into plants, and I had an environmentalist, like a really hardcore environmentalist there. I had another woman who's doing her master's on communicating with non-human forms. But it makes me think of Dorothy McLean. Dorothy McLean was one of the founders of Findhorn, and I've studied with her personally many times. And one of the things that she said is that the trees, as you were saying, are wondering why we stopped talking, and the plants are wondering, why did you stop? Like, did we do something wrong, you know? And then the other thing that came up this weekend is, you know, the trees, because there's so much sort of greed and, you know, mindlessly cutting down trees. I mean, we all need trees. I live in a house that's built from the land, but all the posts in my home are from the property that I bought. And we talk to the trees and talk to the trees. And we're still talking to the trees because we didn't really want to do that, but we had to have a home. And so we're making peace with them. But I think that it's also loneliness. There's an epidemic of loneliness, especially in North America and especially with the internet. Is this loneliness. And so I find that being connected to nature, even in the city, is powerfully healing. You know, like having a favorite tree. Like when I lived in Victoria, I walked through an oak grove on my way to my herb store when I had a herb store, but I would hang out with that oak tree every day, every morning on the way to work, and every afternoon when I came back, and all other plants too. So I think this separateness, and also we teach literally connecting to the air, to the fire, to the earth, to the water. And, you know, our elder teacher, Ellen White, is that you don't pollute the air with your thoughts, let alone your pollution. So I think if people really understood what air is and really understood what this biosphere is, they would treat us a lot better. And I think they're just tuned out that this place is like, you can't live more than 7 minutes without air, and then 10 minutes you're brain dead, and after that you're dead. And this is this gift that we have that is a privilege to be alive. So
Thank you. I'm so glad we're doing this, and possibly more than this, because there's so much affinity in how you feel your role and you know, on your offerings with the ones that I have, and at the same time they kind of explore different realms of experience. So I love everything that you're saying, and I would like to ask you, what is the benefit for a student of engaging? I know you kind of touched on this, but I would like to know a little more of how you articulate that. What's the benefit for your students that have already studied some to have a mentor?
Well, as I say sincerely, I wish I had a mentor at the beginning of my career. He or she would have saved me a lot of time, money, heartache. Also, probably helped me find my joy, helped me deal with my pain. You know, lots of times as a mentor, I'm encouraging people through their edges. You know, like I'll have somebody phone me and say, "Oh, I don't think I should do that consultation." And I'll just, I did have later in my life, I had a really good mentor, and he said, "I know it's really hard, but just do it. You know, just do it." You know, and then they phone me back, and that was so much fun. That was great. So I think that's what was important in a mentor is that just that support. Well, you and I are in a mentorship group, and we're here talking to each other by our mentor for coaching, telling us to do these interviews. Can you go ahead?
Sure. Please ask whatever you would like.
Well, we're taping this, so I'll wait.
Great. So, I think, is there anything else that you would like to add from the questions I've asked? Is there anything that you would like to say? Because I think we went through, maybe there was one question I had that was, you have all this variety of programs, but I see that you have something really interesting that is this possibility of people doing these on-location immersions. So just tell me a little bit more about the special benefit of this kind of offering that you're putting together.
Well, I think, again, what's really exciting is that I just did this workshop, coming back to that, but two of the students, one was from Vancouver, and I live on Pender Island, which is an island, that's about a 2-hour ferry ride from Vancouver. But one of my students was from California, and he flew up to do the weekend. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the benefits is we can have these virtual contacts, and I would love to meet you, and it's really exciting when you've built a relationship already over the internet. And then you also get to go and be with the people. And I found it a really kind of, for me, a magical experience of the physicality of the two people grew on me over the weekend. And so I think there's still a real advantage to having an opportunity to be with a person physically when you can. I mean, that's something that I like. And I will potentially look at, now that I'm free to do more and I'm getting to know my island, I may do a bit longer immersions too for people, because somebody travels in California, it's a fairly long journey, a fair amount of expense. If they were here for 5 days versus 2 days, they could get a lot more. So I used to do my work face to face before, obviously, and so now a lot of it's virtual. There's a real benefit to the virtual to the online. So.
Sure. Yeah, and I can see the benefits of the human connection, but also tell me a little more about the benefits of the connection with the elements and actually of being with the plants and being in a living, we are on Earth anywhere we are, but I'm sure that in some situations the experience can be potentized. So tell me a little more.
Well, that was the fascinating part about my thesis is, can I transmit this through the internet? Like, this is all experiential. This is like sitting with fire, sitting with a tree, sitting with a plant, smelling the earth. And one of my first students was from a place called Alberta. And I've got his video on my website. It just totally changed his life. Like, he did the work, and you can do the work anywhere you are. I'm your guide and I'm your support. And again, that's part of the big power, is having the support of a mentor and a group who agree with your consensual reality. In your consensual reality, you do believe the earth is sentient. You do believe plants can talk. You do believe they want to communicate. So you're not in the reality where, and maybe you live somewhere where there's not a lot of people around you that believe that, including your family. And so you have this, teacher and other students that you're getting together with, and you're going out and you're going, oh, okay, I'll try talking to that tree. And then you go, oh my God, what was that? Oh, I feel like I got a message. That's just my imagination. And then we quote Einstein as saying, imagination is the most powerful thing in the world. So, there's ways to help people over their edges around communicating with the unseen world, the unheard world. And so, it's a different form of communication, but I feel that that's one of the huge advantages, that I've been doing this since the 70s. And so I have no doubt in my mind about the ability to communicate. And so one of my teachers said is 1/3 by word of mouth, 2/3 by radiation. So when you go to a teacher, you're not really going for the words. And the internet's full of words, information up the yin yang. But what's the spirit behind that information? Who's the energy behind that? What's being transmitted? is it real? Have they really done their work? It's not an easy path. It's a challenging path, and it's a, the overnight success of 10,000 hours. It's like so I've walked my talk, and so therefore I have the confidence in both consulting with people and helping people heal on all levels, and I do so as a master herbalist. I do not believe herbs are enough, so that's why I offer the dream body and the shamanism and the Bach flower remedies. Is like we're huge, we're whole beings. We're not just physical beings, and the biomedical model has its use, but it's only good for about 25% of the illnesses that people suffer. So I'm big on making sure that people are dealing with all other aspects of their lives, like their relationships, where their jobs are going, their emotions, their darkness. That's one thing that all of us are black holes. We might want to pretend we're all light and love, but all of us have our places of darkness. And I think that's also really important to acknowledge, and for people to not feel afraid of that. I mean, it takes work to get over the fear of the holes, the black holes, but I've dealt with, suicide and stuff. And I tell my students, when you start doing this, it isn't all going to be people coming in with a bruised knee and eating a bit of arnica or a cut knee, a bit of plantain. It's going to be, yeah, well, here I've got a scar from here to here, or pull down this and I got a scar from here to here. It's like, okay. But you learn how to sit with people in their pain. And so that was one thing I wanted to bring in, because of the flower essences and stuff. Sometimes people think that it's all, light and love. And the healing is about that. It's about bringing plants are light eaters. They transmit light. That's the way they heal. They've actually studied in Switzerland and measured the light photons transmitted through plants. So yeah, we're bringing good energy in, but sometimes we're bringing it into really dark places and dark situations.
Actually, a lot of the times we are.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the deep healing work that I do to really go and but that's another conversation that we're going to have next. But in terms of, I can see, and I fully agree and endorse from experience that the possibility of guiding people through a nature experience wherever they are is totally, powerful, actually.
Yeah. Oh.
And this is what I've been really kind of collecting the even testimonials of people, but the enthusiasm, the engagement, the involvement that is happening because we as mentors are able to really create a resonance and a field that encourages and facilitates and helps them enter into this process. So that's one of the main reasons why this happens. It's not a mental thing. It's not a conceptual thing. It's actually a whole experience that is created, and the encouragement and the trust that is inspired within the person. Yeah. So that's really, really wonderful. I think we have a very good interview for right now from you. Yeah. Would you like to add like a few closing thoughts?
Love nature, and nature will love you back. Openness and willingness will take you a long ways. And so when you get stuck, just rephrase it and say, I'm open and willing. I'm open and willing to change. I'm open and willing to succeed. I'm open and willing to experience. And yeah, I mean, I still kind of believe in the old adages, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so, but do find yourself a good teacher. Find one that's, got a good heart and is going to take you as far as you want to go. Like I have students who started with me, 30 years ago, and they keep coming back because they trust me and they like what they get. So that'll be my closing words.